Нашого нового спікера.
Today we already present our new speaker right now, Keith Mintz, my husband.
У нас сьогодні така ненапружена атмосфера.
There is no pressure, we'll chill today.
Тому, якщо у вас будуть якісь питання цікаві, там, не знаю, або щось ви хочете запитати у Кіза, таке незвичне, то ви можете легко це робити.
So you can ask any questions, whatever you want. If you have some specifics, Keith is open to answer whatever you want. He is very smart, intelligent in any branch, any topic.
Ну, я цього не казав, але окей. Що ще про Кіза додати? Кіз родом з Каліфорнії.
Keith is from California.
I could tell him, you know.
Так, кстати.
You want to do the presentation?
Speaking club at every Tuesday at 16 a.m. 16 p.m. Sorry, we talk about how to present each other, how to talk confidently, and how to be more confident in life and how you present yourself, and also about relationship. That's where he is pro at.
Дорогі друзі, ласкаво прошу. Я Кіт, я вчу українську. Thank you. That is the end of my speech in Ukrainian, because I don't know anything else. But I'm from California, as you heard, and some of you already know. I'm not an expert in public speaking or necessarily specialize in this area, but there's a lot that goes into public speaking, and they're going to talk about it today. First thing is, who values relationships as the most important thing in your life? Raise your hand. You guys value relationships, right? Because everything is relationships, and if you look around the ceiling, the floor, your clothes, everything you buy in your life is designed by relationships. Relationships happen. People came together, they communicated, they designed these products, and they brought them to market. The one thing that is built on a relationship, or one thing that breaks relationships and is built on relationships and also continues a relationship, is communication. And that's what we're talking about today. But what creates an excellent communicator? And that is understanding yourself. And understanding yourself, because you can't communicate well if you don't know what it is that you intend to communicate. So a little bit about me and my background and how I ended up getting to this field is I grew up feeling very misunderstood by mainly my parents, and because of that I think I became an introvert. I was naturally introverted my whole life. And I didn't know how to do small talk. You guys probably understand. I don't know any about that nonsense. And so I ended up just really wanted to be understood. And because of that, I spent a lot of time kind of observing other people, trying to understand them, and looking inward and trying to understand my thoughts and emotions and everything. And I realized that everything is communication, everything is relationships, and I realized if I can't control how other people understand me, the only one thing I could do is figure out how to articulate and communicate clearly so other people can understand me. And so I spent the last 10 years of my life trying to understand people and the human mind and psychology, and I studied metaphysics, cognitive behavioral therapy, neuro linguistic programming, relationship coaching. A lot of this area revolving around self-awareness and understanding ourselves and our patterns in life, because we're designed by our patterns. And let me keep myself on track here. But my point is that communication is not just about speaking well, it's about understanding yourself well enough to express yourself clearly so that the people receiving your message can understand what you intend to say as the way you intended to say it. And so I figured to start with and bring warmth to the room that everyone can introduce themselves. I know some of you already know each other and where you're from, but your name, where you're from specifically, and what motivates you, what gets you out of bed every day. Now that you know a bit about me, what motivates me. And we start from left to right, and then go back.
So my name is Sophia. I'm from Greece specifically, and what motivates me? I don't know. I have to. I guess just looking for little enjoyment in everything, to get up with life. I don't know.
That's good. That's good.
My name is Solomon from the United States, and I'm motivated by sunshine and caffeine.
Okay. That's what gets you out of bed.
I'm Noah. I'm from California, and I'm here to explore the world.
Anatoly, specifically from Kiev. Just life motivates me to go on. So.
That's good.
And, sorry, what was the question? Like,
Where are you from? Your name? What motivates you? What gets you out of bed every day? What's the reason you're living?
Not alone with my friends, and everybody is from Ukraine. He's Timothy. My name is Nazar. It's my girlfriend named Sofia, and my friend Ilya. And we are motivated by, I don't know, hint. Our future in this land.
Okay.
Probably, yeah.
That's good. That's good. All the same.
My name is Ivan. I'm from Ivano-Frankivsk region, and what's motivates me is others people smile.
That's good. It's very nice.
My name is Nadia, and I'm from Kiev, and what's motivating me lately is curly people I see outside everywhere. I don't know, it just makes me smile.
My name is Natalia. I'm from small city, Slavyansk, Donetsk area. Yeah, and I would like to share, I'm here, what is motivated me to be here, not in general. I'm just afraid to talk in front of people. Right now, I'm dying because I'm scared.
Me too.
That's why I'm here to like fight my fear.
That's good though. It's very good.
Okay. I'm Katya. I'm from West Ukraine, Khmelnytskyi region. And what motivates me in life is to build a family and successful business with you.
Well, very nice. Thank you. Let everybody know.
I'm from Chernogorsk, and my motivation is I don't know, maybe smart people. I don't know.
Okay, that's good.
Hi, my name is Yana, and I'm from central Ukraine, from city Bucha, and I like to see the result. When I clearly see my actions lead toward result, and it's a wonderful feeling.
That's nice. It's good self-awareness. Yeah, start, Roma.
My name is Felicia. I'm from Krasnoyarsk, and I think what motivates me in life, I guess, it's how other people express their ideas, especially through dance.
I'm Lisa. I'm from Odessa, and I'm motivated by my family and friends.
I'm Islam, I'm from Azerbaijan, and what motivates me is the fact that I know that every day I can be better than I was yesterday.
I like that.
My name is Roma. I come from the best city in the world. Yes, which one?
Kharkiv.
Exactly, from Kharkiv, right. And my motivation is my mistakes, mostly. My mistakes makes me more stronger and motivated.
That's very good. Do you want to go?
Hello to everyone, my name is Kura. I'm also from Kharkiv, from Ukraine. So, what motivates me maybe is my dreams. So I have a lot of dreams and I would like to do a lot for my dreams. So this is my motivation.
Good. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing all that. So, what influences our communication and even our decisions? There's three main things within ourselves, since communication is about self-awareness and about understanding ourselves well enough to express ourselves. There's three main things that we operate off of that influences our communication and our influence, our decisions. So anyone might have a guess on these three?
Emotions.
Yeah, that's one of them. Emotions, we feel our emotions. Anything else? I forgot this whiteboard, but I think that's... Would it help if I wrote things on a whiteboard?
That's right.
Does that help? Okay.
Whiteboard.
Yeah, that'd be good.
question. Yeah.
3 things that influence, big one, whichever one, doesn't matter. 3 things that influence our communication and even our decisions in life. Like he said, emotions, so we feel our emotions. There's 2 others. That's something, it's, well, our thoughts. Our thoughts, our mind. And then there's another one that we often overlook and don't really think about and don't always distinguish between our emotions and this one thing. But you probably might not guess it. It's intuition. And we're going to talk more about that. But these are the 3 main things that is helping us, or we're communicating based off of and making decisions in our life. And when we understand these 3 things at a depth, understanding ourselves, understanding our thoughts, you know, our emotions, our intuition, everything, we're able to sense ourselves. It gives us the clarity to be confident and to speak. And speaking doesn't just about public speaking. It's also, like I said, communication, conversations, relationship building. And so, where was I at with this? The first fun question to think about, consider is, what influences, do our thoughts influence our feelings, or our feelings influence our thoughts? Does anyone have an idea or want to answer that? Because I don't know.
No, I disagree.
Really? Why? Oh, okay. So it's influence. Yeah.
Well, okay, so our thoughts influence our feelings, always. And I'll explain. For example, when we think positively, dopamine and serotonin gets flooded in our brain, right? When we think negatively, specifically, there's a deficiency of dopamine, serotonin, and mainly our basal ganglia area. And when we're in fear, our amygdala gets triggered. That's the fight or flight mode. No one likes that feeling of feeling scared and stressed and anxious. So the basal ganglia part of your brain, and I know we're going to neuroscience here, but the basal ganglia part of your brain is plays a role in your emotional regulation, and it's the part that is for reward. So like when you win a lotto, for example, a lottery, say you win the lottery, you get excited about that, you become optimistic, your thoughts are influencing that, and that's affecting how you feel. Dopamine, serotonin is getting released in that part of your brain. But when you're thinking negatively, for example, there's a deficiency of dopamine, serotonin in that part of your brain. So depression is a cycle of negative thinking. So our thoughts are directly influencing how we feel. And our feelings are influencing our decisions in life, right? We are deciding things based on our feelings. And one thing to know about feelings is your feelings are not you, nor are necessarily your thoughts. But your feelings are to experience, to observe them, to learn from them. They tell you what's wrong, right? If you're angry or you're frustrated, whatever, something's telling you, well, there's a reason you're frustrated, there's a reason you're angry, so you're sensing that. And you got to learn from that, you got to process that, but a lot of times we don't take that time to do so. And so our feelings are influencing our decisions, and our decisions, of course, influence our whole life. You guys are sitting here today because you decided to be here. You're in Denmark because you decided to be here. The relationships you're in are because you decided to be there. And our decisions affect our actions. We take action on that, and it actually cycles. Because we feel based on how we perceive our actions, the results of our actions. We perceive those, and then that makes us feel good or bad, depending on how we perceive our results. Sometimes we'll get frustrated about it, and we think negatively, and we like, life sucks, and then we feel negative or whatever. We feel depressed about it. But when you perceive your results as good as life lessons, things you learn, you feel positive, and dopamine gets flooded through your brain. And so that raises another interesting question. What influences our thoughts? Anyone want to guess that?
Experience.
Environment.
Yeah. Beyond that, though, is our past, our whole life experience that the relationship we've observed between our parents, our relationship we had with our parents, our past traumas, and the relationships we have, everything in our past experience. Basically, everything that we haven't really had control of is influencing our thoughts, right? Our brain is kind of built a pattern around our thoughts or our past experiences, which raises another very interesting question. Are we really in control of our decisions? Raise your hand if you think we're in control of our decisions, or if you think you're in control. Really? The person who you didn't raise your hand, why do you think you're not in control?
I'm thinking if it is or not.
Who genuinely believes that we're not in control? No? You believe we're not in control, you're going like that.
I feel like it's 50-50. I feel like
Technically you're right. Well, not really. We're in control of our decisions. I mean, we purely are conscious of the decisions we make, but we're only making decisions based on what we're aware of, right? We can't decide on things that we're not aware of. Otherwise, our mind, our patterns are making decisions for us. So the more, it shows the importance of understanding ourselves. The more we know our thoughts, the more we know our emotions, the more we know about our patterns and our triggers, we could take control of our life. And because that shapes our life. And so the most important thing to master relationships and communications, to understand our thoughts. That's where it all starts. So that's the most important thing. So an important question becomes another one. Currently in your life right now, reflect this. Are you in control of your thoughts, or are your thoughts in control of you? Your whole life. You think you've been in control of your thoughts, or your thoughts been kind of controlling you? Your mind's just been...
Isn't it the question, your brain controls you, or you control your brain?
Similar, yeah. I mean, thoughts, there's a whole deep conversation on thoughts, but, you know, I don't know exactly what you mean by the brain controls us, but in a way, basically our experiences, our past experiences, kind of in the way that we're raised, influences the way that we think and the way we do things, and that in a way, everything from our childhood, we weren't really in control of it. We weren't conscious of it. And so it's now where you are today to think whether you're in control of your thoughts or not, because you've been living your entire life with these patterns that, you know, this is the way to do things, this is the way. Are you really in control of your thoughts? Because most of the time, most of us have spent our whole life perceiving the world around us, right? Everything that's happening outside of us, we're constantly being stimulated by influence from the world around us, from our friends, from our parents, from whatever pressures in our life. And we never really take the time to close your eyes, of course, unless there's some of you that meditate here. You don't really look inward. And when our eyes are closed, it's usually a time when we go to sleep, but we're not conscious when we sleep. So the only time to really be conscious while our eyes are closed, because when your eyes are closed, you're looking inward. Now you can pay attention to your thoughts, to your words, to everything going on inside you. Is to meditate. And that's the beginning, that awareness is the beginning of self-mastery. And so today we're going to do some experiences, some exercises to improve our self-awareness, articulation, and our communication, and hopefully be ready for better communication relationships in your life. And so the first one we're going to do is simple. It's something that I always tell people who are just getting into meditation. Meditation is not just a prayer. It's mainly purely about learning to rule your thoughts, learning to understand what's going on inside you, because that affects your entire life. So in this, you will close your eyes, and I'll guide you through it. But for 2 minutes, you will have thoughts come in, of course, because we're human. And a lot of people say, I can't meditate because I'm thinking too much. Of course, because we're human and we're always thinking and everything's in motion. But your goal of this is to acknowledge your thoughts are there and let them go. To not engage in those thoughts, because that's what we do when our eyes are open. What we look, right? Energy flows where your attention goes. You'll end up in life wherever you pay attention to. And when your eyes are open, you're everywhere. Wherever you're looking at, whatever you're paying attention to, that's where your thoughts are, being influenced by. So now take a moment to look inward. Okay, so your goal is to just sit in silence, let your thoughts go. If you have to watch these thoughts kind of like a movie, just kind of like your thoughts are a movie, let them go, then do that. And I'll guide you a bit through it. But to start with, if everybody just kind of get comfortable, like a meditative zone, sit, relax, kind of let your body just loosen up. Yeah, close your eyes. I feel the presence. Close your eyes, Katya. Whoever wants to do it. And just take a slow breath in through your nose. And breathe out through your mouth. And as thoughts arise, simply notice them and let them go. Don't try to stop them. Don't engage in them. Just let them go, let them disappear. Maintain that stillness. All that exists is here and now. Bring yourself back to the present as soon as you start to recognize that you're off into your thoughts. And if it helps to visualize your thoughts like a passing cloud, it's just moving along, you're just observing it. When it helps, return your attention to your breath. I'll let you know when to open your eyes, but sit in silence for a second. You guys could open your eyes when you're ready. I know it's a very short meditative experience, but I encourage everybody to do that every day, because the more you do that, I know it's very difficult, but the more you do it, the more you become in control of being able to tame your mind, tame your thoughts, which ultimately tames your life. 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, and then do it up for an hour. It's hard, but it's very good for you. Who found it hard to not engage in your thoughts? Raise your hand. It's hard. Did you find a moment where you were able to bring yourself back to the presence? Raise your hand. You did. This is very good. Good. So that kind of show you where you're at in your life. Like, are you really in control of your thoughts, or your thoughts controlling you? Because if you don't learn to tame your thoughts, they will control you, and they will control your emotions and your reactions and your communication. And the same goes for emotions. If you don't control your emotions will control you. The moment you become aware of them is the moment you choose how you respond to life. And it's very important also to recognize that this also directly affects your relationships and your communication, because no matter what you do in life, you're going to be pulled in different directions. You're always going to be distracted by something, especially in relationships. Emotions come up, and you're going to get angry, and you're going to whatever. And not just romantic relationships, friendships, business relationships, everything is a relationship. Even I'm having a relationship with you guys so a relationship is an exchange of service, right? I'm talking, you guys are listening. It's a relationship. But there's always going to be those moments where our thoughts kind of drift off, and if we can recognize them when they come up and bring ourselves back to present, we can avoid emotional conversations or being triggered, which will affect our life. So we talked about thoughts, right? Now, the other experience that goes on inside of us is our feelings. What are feelings? Right? Feelings are experiences inside of our body and mind. And a lot of times we recognize them as emotions. And there's also another layer of experience inside, which is our intuition. And so, what do you think the difference is between emotion and intuition? Because it's easy to get mixed up. Does anyone want to answer that? Got an idea?
The difference between emotion and intuition.
Yeah.
I think that the difference between emotion and intuition is that intuition is instant and emotion is lasting after you feel it.
It's interesting. You could be affected by your emotions after, yeah, I'd say. But emotions usually are chemical experiences in your brain. They come and go. They're quick to change. Right? We feel them mainly in our brain and a lot of times in our body when we feel angry, whatever. Those are emotions. But there's two perspectives of intuition. There's a metaphysical perspective of it, and there's a scientific one, which we'll mostly talk about. But those are our instinctive patterns to recognize. It's things that we're familiar with. We see patterns and we're familiar with them, and most of the time those come based off our past. And so, for example, when you're a child and you kind of go next to a cliff, for example, or whatever. You don't really know, you're kind of running off and your parents are chasing you and you don't really know what danger you might get yourself into. But as you get older, we know instinctively to not go near the edge of a cliff. We know, we don't process that and pick it apart and realize that if this happens, then we'll fall, and all the details of that. We instinctively know. So a lot of times intuition is more of a quieter inner knowing. It's a knowing. We just know in our heart. We know that this feels right or it doesn't feel right, and a lot of times those are based on patterns that we pick up throughout our life that our subconscious is telling us. And so it's important to know the difference between these two things, because oftentimes it gets mixed up. And when you make a decision, you're like, oh, intuitively this feels right, but a lot of times it could just be your emotions. And you're making an emotional decision, and in that way reacting to life rather than acting upon it. So before we could communicate with others, obviously we need to understand what we feel, what our triggers are, our patterns, our emotions, how we react under pressure. So just spoke about, because like I said, if you don't control your emotions, you don't understand them, they're going to react for us, they're going to respond for us, they're going to speak for us. So there's an exercise that we'll do that you need a pen and paper for, which just got blocked by the... If everybody wants to get a pen and paper, it might be easier if you guys come up and get a piece of paper and a pen for this exercise. Please come up.
I'm sorry.
That's good. All right, so I'm gonna basically guide you through 4 different questions. It's kind of an exercise to self-reflect and to understand more of your communication patterns. So the first one is, what situations tend to trigger strong emotions in me? Now think about your past experience, kind of what situations trigger strong emotions in you. So for example, it could be like yelling when a person close to you is maybe yelling at you, or might startle you, make it trigger. It's a very simple, kind of general example, but it's just an example of what I mean. You might be... Katya, you got to write that down.
I wrote.
You did? Let me see your paper. Wow, it's a lot of words. I guess for those who are finished already, the next question is, when I feel triggered, how does it usually affect my communication? And some examples is maybe you withdraw, or you avoid conversation, or you become defensive. Maybe you speak louder, your voice gets louder. Well, for those of you guys who are done with that question, and if I'm going too fast, let me know if you need me to repeat a question. The next one's, where do each of these triggers come from? So an example, like usually they come from maybe a relationship you've observed of your parents or had with your parents, something like that. It's just an example. Everyone's ready for the next one? The next one's, what is one thing I wish people understood about me when I communicate? Which one you need?
Could you repeat that?
This one? What is one thing I wish people understood about me when I communicate? For an example, like I wish people were more patient with me to understand that my mind's going so fast. Overall, these are important things to recognize and be aware of yourself, your communication patterns, kind of what's going on inside you. It affects our communication, of course. But what deepens a relationship and a bond? And that is when you get to a point where people, or the person that you're communicating with or building a relationship with, feels safe enough to be themselves, to be genuine and authentic. And there's phases of a relationship getting built, from the point that you meet somebody to the point that it deepens and where you guys realize, I could trust this person. And this goes for friendships, romantic relationships, business, everything. The whole goal is to get people to trust you. That's where you want to get to, a place where people feel safe enough to express themselves. So like level 1, for example, when you meet someone, it's kind of that small talk, the stuff that I also didn't really understand growing up, but talking about simple things, surface level things, a bunch of bullshit basically, weather or whatever, hobby, small talk. He kind of just gives you an in to opening up about other things. And then you get to that second phase where you guys are talking about stories, challenges, life experiences, you know, things that you guys are asking questions back and forth, maybe just kind of finding common interests. And then eventually get to a deeper level where you guys are talking about what's important to you in life, you know, what meaning you have of life and what values you have, finding that aligned value. And that's the point where you realize, like, oh, you guys have aligned values, you could feel safe to open up to that person, right? Because we kind of closed off when we think that somebody is not going to understand us, right? And that's the point of understanding yourself, because when you understand yourself well enough that you're confident about yourself, you have that clarity, most of the time it doesn't really matter. So when you have conversations with people and you go through these 3 phases of relationship building, you'll build a bond fast. That's why people who are in sales are very good at building that trust really, really fast, because they're confident in themselves and they open up and they know people's emotions, the psychology or whatever. But you're never going to build a strong, close relationship with people. You can't get to that level 3, get to that point where you guys are both feel safe enough to have a conversation, to be authentic, to be genuine with each other and build that trust, because trust is the main foundation of strong relationships and communication. All right, so this is going to be an exercise where you guys are going to find a partner that you haven't really spoken to and that you don't really know. And you guys figure it out amongst yourselves, because I don't know how to coordinate that. But you find a partner that you don't really know, and I'm going to give you different topics, and you're going to just have a conversation about it. And then when I say switch, you guys will, or when I say the new topic, you guys will switch to the new topic. And you can choose amongst yourselves whoever starts, but find a partner. Find a partner. Everybody get up, find a partner, come on. Yeah. This is public speaking, don't be scared. Katya, find a partner. You probably know everybody here. Find someone you don't know. Well, it's too late now. You already know. Has everybody found a partner? You guys found a partner? Found a partner? Just found a partner? Whatever. Just give it a moment. Okay. You guys found, you good? Found a partner. All right, so you guys could choose amongst yourselves how you start the conversation, or whoever starts, but you guys are just going to converse the first thing over something simple: favorite foods, hobbies, travel. And your goal of this is kind of just observe your communication patterns and observe kind of where you feel emotion or the depth of the conversation, to just pay attention to the development. Okay, so start with favorite foods, hobbies, travel. Give it a couple minutes, and then I'll let you know when to do the next topic. So, talk amongst yourselves. All right, and then switch. I heard that some conversations got deep quick. That's good. Switch to a challenge or achievement you have overcome in your life. Talk about that. Did you understand? A challenge or an achievement that you've overcome in your life. Something you've achieved or a challenge you've overcome. Raise your hand if you guys felt a connection in the first phase, the first round. If you felt a connection there. Okay, interesting. Who felt the most connected in the third round when you're talking about the meaningful stuff? Raise your hand. Most, okay, that's good. Connection grows when we feel safe enough to be authentic and open with each other. But there is a main quality in communication and relationship building that is a skill and a quality, and it's one of the most important. Anyone have an idea of that? Like, what's one important quality to possess and present in communication? Listening. That's, yeah, we're going to talk about that. That is. But the other one is empathy. And, yeah?
And the skill to impress your emotions.
Exactly, yes. Yes, we're going to talk about that. Empathy is a part of that, exactly. We need empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand other people's experiences and understand what they're feeling and going through and showing that in communication. And so when people feel understood, they feel connected and they feel respected and they feel seen and heard, right? And that opens up a space where people can feel safe and trustworthy and they can trust the bond. And now you have a relationship you could build. So how we possess empathy and show, and you mentioned one of them, listen, right? Listening fully, not interrupting, not trying to prepare your response, which many of us sometimes do as people talk or we're in an argument, right? We're trying to prove a point and prepare our response in our mind. But just listen, be curious, ask questions, genuinely try to understand and learn your person's perspective of whoever you're talking to, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all on the same team. Whoever you're communicating with, you're on the same team. We're trying to find the solution to whatever we're talking about together. There's literally no point in arguing and trying to prove a point. If someone's miscommunicating, you're misunderstanding, be curious, ask questions, try to understand where their mind is at to refine, be on the same page and maintain being on the same page, check it with each other. And the other thing is suspending judgment, right? Instead of thinking in our mind that this person is different from me and I'm judging them and kind of giving those labels and statements in your mind of whatever the judgment is, it can kind of bring yourself back and think, what is this person's experience? Like, what is he going through? What is this person going through that kind of led him to where he is today or whoever the situation is? And last thing, like you said, emotional awareness. We need to understand ourselves. We can only empathize with people as much as we can empathize with ourselves. We can only understand people's emotions as much as we understand our own emotions. We're all human. We all go through the same thing, even if we think that we're alone and that other people are, no one's feeling what I'm feeling. I guarantee you everyone has had the same feeling. Maybe different experience, but the same feeling. We all know what fear feels like, and we all know what happiness feels like. No one feels it any differently. So don't be afraid to talk about it and be open with yourself, because that's where people feel safe. And show that, right? Self-awareness equals to empathy, and that builds stronger communication. There's a difference between empathy and sympathy, though. And sometimes we get that mixed up, but sympathy is feeling sorry for someone. And oftentimes that could create disconnection. When you say, oh, I feel sorry, I know you feel that way, I'm sorry you feel that way, I don't feel that, it kind of creates disconnection, right? And we feel separate. But when you have empathy, you're basically sharing the fact that you experience what they're experiencing. You're going through it with them. You feel what they feel. You're saying things like, I understand how that must feel. Right? What I heard you say is, you're responding back to them. It's super important, especially in conversations. So the way you kind of maintain being on the same page is to display that you understand what they said and show empathy that you understand, that you know their experience and that you want to understand them. That makes them feel safe to continue the conversation, to continue building a relationship, to open up with you, okay? Now, the other really important quality, right, that most people believe communication is about speaking well, but a lot of communication, the best communicators are really good listeners, right? They say the smartest man in the room is the one who's listening, observing, collecting the information, right? Not the one who's just talking. So I'm not the smart one today. Many people, they listen to react, to respond, to interrupt, right? And hearing versus listening. It's a big one, right? We might hear, but we're not listening. Listening is to seek to understand them. Otherwise, hearing, you could go through one ear right out the other. And oftentimes in conversation, in relationships, the other person might say, I'm hearing you, or I'm listening, or whatever. But they're not really trying to understand you. They're just, and maybe you actually understand them, or your partner understands you, but you don't feel like they understand you because they're not checking in with you. They're not saying, I understand that you're going through this, whatever, right? And then continuing the conversation. So it's always good. That's why it's always good to show empathy. You might be feeling them, you might be empathizing with them, but show it, okay? So another exercise. You're going to find the same partner. You could find a different partner if you want. But you guys are going to have a conversation with about your current life struggle that you're experiencing today, like what you're currently experiencing. Okay. Be real, be authentic, but only share what you feel comfortable with. And if you don't feel comfortable sharing whatever life struggle, then talk about a goal. What's your current life goal right now? What's your next step in life? What are you trying to get to? Okay, your goal of this is to listen to your partner, to practice these listening skills, practice empathy. Everything we just spoke about, responding back with empathy and showing you understand and keep being on the same page. Don't interrupt. Your goal is not to solve their problem. It's not to fix the problem or anything like that. It's not to give advice and say you should do this. Your only goal is simply to listen and ask insightful questions, to guide them to a solution. That's the goal. Identify their problem and guide them to a solution just by asking questions, listening, having that conversation. Okay? Some starter questions, some tips you can ask, just default, really easy. Why is this challenge occurring? So whatever they're talking about, why? And then keep asking, why? It's a really easy default question if you can't come up with anything. That oftentimes could lead to a deeper conversation. Another one, how important is this for you on a scale from 1 to 10? If they say 6, then where's the other 4? How can I get you to 10, right? Where can you start? What can you do to start? Okay, so find a partner or the partner you already had, and we'll get started. And I'll time it. All right, maybe we could stop now. I don't know where you guys are at in this conversation, but hello. You guys are obviously enjoying your conversation. I enjoyed you guys talking because I had to talk less for the next 10 minutes, so that's great. But raise your hand if you felt like you were heard and listened to. That's good. It's a lot of hands. Raise your hand if you interrupted and you accidentally gave advice. Okay. All right. No, you guys are being honest. And did anyone get to the root of their problem? Or feel like their problem was identified? Felt like got some, okay. And anyone maybe found a solution? Raise your hand, maybe, okay, even a little bit. That's good. For a 10-minute conversation, that's pretty good, right? Most people rarely feel listened to, right? And they rarely feel heard. And a lot of times there's a lot of back and forth offense and defense and a lot of nonsense, right? And that kind of brings us back to the point where we're all on the same team. There's no competition when we're having a relationship. We're all human beings living on the earth, right? The planet. We're like literally building civilization together. So what's the point of arguing and not trying to understand each other? And I think if we had more understanding and more of these exercises, more of these practices in our communication, maybe a lot of wars wouldn't happen and a lot of good would happen, more peace on earth, right? So a little bit at a time, implement this into your relationships and pass that on, right? So let me see here. When we are having a conversation, right, there is sometimes a moment where we feel that emotional trigger and we're about to react and we can tell we're getting angry or whatever. And a lot of times we do react. But there is a very nice space where you can pause and process and save a relationship just by taking a couple moments of self-reflection. Feel like, what am I going through right now? What am I feeling? Before you respond. And that becomes a response you're acting upon rather than reacting to it, right? Reactive communication often sounds like blaming and accusing and defending and raising your voice and shouting. But take that moment to just pause, breathe, listen, observe, ask a question, try to understand what's going on because you're in it together. You're both trying to find the solution together. So choose your words intentionally. And that's the difference between damaging communication in a relationship versus a healthy relationship, right? And you can't empathize if you're too focused experiencing your own emotions, right? If you don't know what's going on within you, you can't empathize, you can't keep a relationship going, right? If you have no empathy in a relationship, there's going to be no relationship because you can't build trust. That's why narcissists can never really keep a relationship going on forever. So common miscommunication right? It happens when we're assuming and we're accusing, and this is a lot of times instinctive, right? We just assume and accuse the other person's wrong or whatever because it's the fastest thing to do, but it doesn't always solve the problem. It actually makes things sometimes less fast because then you have an argument rather than both of you just trying to figure out what the problem was and what the solution is. And miscommunication is reacting emotionally, you stop listening, you feel misunderstood. And when you feel misunderstood, that's where you get closed off and there's no safe space anymore. You get defensive, you get closed off, you get frustrated, right? Communication improves when people feel safe to express themselves. And so, to recap, right, the key qualities in good communication are emotional regulation, deep listening, empathy, curiosity over judgment, right? As soon as we're thinking these judging thoughts, statements, labels, turn that to being curious and asking questions, trying to understand what's going on. And maintaining that calm frame, taking that pause, those 3 seconds to just process and feel whatever you're feeling. Observe your feelings, separate yourself from it because you're not your feelings, right? That's a human experience, so observe it, feel it, understand it. And then respond with questions. So some example response starters. What makes this important to you? What do you mean by that? This is my favorite one. How do you define that word? Because a lot of times we're actually on the same page to some extent, but we have different definitions of things. And we're arguing for an hour, and then you realize you guys are basically understanding the same thing, but you guys define some word differently. And you've been arguing for nothing. So always ask, like, how do you define that? You know, try to get to the root of making sure you guys are on the same page about what you're talking about. Why is that? What experience led you to believe that? When did you first start thinking that way? And how do you usually go about that? Right, so we're going to do an exercise now that's more of a debate. I like that word. Let's see. That is Ukrainian, right? Okay, just making sure. So anyways, this is going to be an interesting one because I'm going to give you a list of topics, okay? And if you believe strongly in this topic, you raise your hand. Pay attention to the room. Whoever's not raising their hand, that's who you're going to partner with. Okay, so the person who raises their hand is partner A. The person who you partner with, who didn't raise their hand, or if they didn't raise, is partner B. And partner B is the one who's going to start talking. Okay, your goal of this is not necessarily to win. That's not what a debate's about. The debate is about understanding your partner, even in emotionally triggering situations. That's why we're picking topics where you guys believe in the opposite thing. Okay, I'm not trying to start an argument. Don't do that. But that's the exercise, is to be triggered but maintain calmness, understand yourself, and seek to understand your partner, to listen, right? You're not trying to convince them. It doesn't matter if they're wrong or right? It's just a matter of understanding their perspective. That's your goal. I want you guys to find what you learn from this conversation and specifically what they believe in, why they believe it, and how it's affecting their life. How is it affecting their decisions? So pay attention to those 3 things, and that's what I want you to take away from this conversation. Remember to not judge or be sarcastic. Remember to use the pauses, the empathy, everything we talked about, right? Okay, so I will say these topics, and you raise your hand if you believe in it. I got a bunch of topics, basically, so hopefully, some topics you guys don't agree on and everyone could find a partner. That's the idea. Okay, so first topic is money is important for happiness. Raise your hand if you believe that, right? Okay, find a partner that's not raising their hand that you want to partner with. You could also listen to all the topics and decide for yourself, but find a partner that's not raising their hand. Cancel, okay. Does somebody find a partner or not? Okay, I'll go to the next topic. Okay, good. You guys can confirm. You guys believe the opposite thing? Okay, good. Okay, next one. People should find a stable career first, then follow their passion. Raise your hand. People should find a stable career first, then follow their passion. Raise your hand. I find that. Would your brother going to have an argument? It's perfect. This is perfect. Why don't you partner with your brother? No, I'm just kidding. If you don't want to and you don't feel comfortable, that's cool. It's the whole idea is to understand each other's perspective, get on the same page, so it might be.
We should choose a topic. Why do you give several topics?
I'm giving several times until everybody finds a partner, because obviously, you know, you guys might believe all the same thing and then there's no arguments. Okay, so choose a partner that didn't believe in that. The third one is college, university is necessary for success. You should go to college sooner than later. Raise your hand if you believe that. Okay. If you want to do that topic and find a partner that doesn't believe that, find a partner. Okay. I don't know who's found a partner and who hasn't, so okay. Did you find a partner? Really? Okay, good. All right, if you guys want to change partner, there's more questions that you might find more interesting. A marriage should divorce if one person cheats. Raise your hand if a marriage should divorce if one person cheats. Okay, if you want that topic, find a partner. Okay, are we finding partners here? Okay, that's good. Who still doesn't have a partner? Okay, we got to find you an argument somewhere. It wasn't funny.
And men and women both, we all have masculine and feminine energy. So I'm talking about the balance of it. But typically feminine energy is more nurturing, right? And more in tune with emotion, and they need that to take care of their children, whatever, and they follow the masculine. So the masculine, it's important, I think the man oftentimes leads communication, leads a conversation in the direction where the feminine energy can feel stable and safe. And that's what I'm getting at. So if men can, masculine energy, kind of understand themselves, understand their partner's emotions. I'm sure if I asked this question, but all the women here, when your partner feels like they understand your emotions, you know, how does that feel? It feels good, right? You feel loved, you feel seen, you feel understood. Yeah, okay, I thought you had a question. My point is, understanding yourself, especially for men, to lead the conversation, to lead communication, and be the stability is important for that to follow. Right? People connect more with realness than they do perfection. You don't need to be a perfect speaker to be to be a good communicator. You just need to be genuine, be yourself, be you. Okay? Confidence may make you a good speaker, but not necessarily a good communicator. And I want to use Donald Trump as a good example of this, because he obviously, his ability to speak has gotten him to where he is. He might be a good speaker, but it doesn't make him a good communicator, right? I think we can all agree he's a good businessman and everything, but he tramples over people, and I wouldn't say he has very much empathy. And being confident and being a good communicator, or being a confident communicator, may make you a good businessman, but communication makes you a good leader, right? So that's all I have to say about that. Now, I have a little last short exercise of self-reflection. So if you have your paper and your pen again, I'm going to give you 3 questions to self-reflect amongst yourself and write down on your piece of paper. So the first question, one thing I learned about myself today. One thing you learned about yourself. One thing you learned